Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. Tonight we'll have all your international, national, and local news. I'm Devin Ami.
And I'm Jillian Musser. Find out more about the ongoing Iranian protests and how the government's response is growing more extreme.
Also hear about the strange case of the missing SAT exams.
All this and more coming up on NewsNight.
It is now the 8th week of anti-government protesting in Iran, with no signs of ending soon. With more than 300 deaths and close to 15,000 arrests since the protests started, Iranians are now reaching out for help from the outside. Iranians are first looking for outreach and to be heard, as reporters, videos, and pictures from foreign correspondents of the protests have been banned in an attempt to minimize the happenings. This resulted in a massive wave of citizen journalism, which later also came to an end due to the internet in Iran being either interrupted or entirely shut down. 32 journalists have been arrested, and multiple social media apps such as WhatsApp and Instagram have been blocked. Therefore, outreach is becoming harder and harder. According to BBC, quote, "Protesters first want to be heard and get news coverage by the world's media," end quote.
New research shows that mushroom skins could provide a biodegradable alternative to some plastics using batteries and computer chips, making them easier to recycle. According to CNN, researchers from the Johannes Kepler University in Austria were working on flexible and stretchable electronics with a focus on sustainable materials to replace non-degradable materials when they made the discovery. A member of the university's division of soft matter physics has been looking at using fungus-derived materials for use in other areas. This work led to the latest study, which shows how Ganoderma lucidium mushroom skin could work as a substitute for the substrate used in electrical circuits. The team discovered that the mushroom, which typically grows on decaying hardwood trees in Europe and East Asia, forms a compact protective skin made of mycelium, a root-like network to protect its growth medium wood. According to the research paper, the skin is slightly less insulating than plastic, but it still works safely and successfully in the electrical circuits, with a thickness similar to paper and the ability to withstand temperatures exceeding 392 degrees Fahrenheit, making it a good substrate. While the team's work is currently experimental and they are still a long way from mass production, they believe the biodegradable skins could be a sustainable alternative material for use in the electronics that don't require long-lasting electrical circuits, such as wearable health monitors and near-field communication tags for electronic devices.
Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused Beijing of playing aggressive political games within Canada's past elections. Canadian intelligence found a covert network that stemmed from Beijing-backed candidates to the Chinese government. This was both discovered in the recent 44th general election in 2021 and the 43rd general election in 2019, with a recorded 11 candidates in 2019 alone. Intelligence also stated that the operation was directed by China's consulate in Toronto and former Canadian officials to ultimately influence policies in political circles in both major parties. In one case, $250,000 were funneled onto an office in Ontario-based provincial MP, while the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijin denies the interference, saying that China doesn't have the interest in influencing Canadian elections and that these accusations will hurt their country relations with Canada. Even so, Trudeau reassures citizens that in an interview that, quote, "We have taken significant measures to strengthen the integrity of our election processes and our systems," end quote. Concerns rise, just like the global climate, after the recently released report from the United Nations. Reporter Erin Ute is here with the details.
The UN's Climate Change Summit has opened in Egypt with a warning that our planet is, quote, "sending a distress signal," end quote. Secretary General Antonio Guterres was responding to a UN report released a week ago, stating that the past 8 years were on track to be the warmest on record. More than 120 world leaders are due to arrive at the summit, known as COP27, in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. This week will kick off 2 weeks of negotiations between countries on climate action. COP27 President, Egyptian Foreign Minister Shaiman Shouri, urged leaders to not let food and energy crises related to Russia's invasion of Ukraine get in the way of action on climate change. The need for action was expressed in the UN's World Meteorological Organization. In this report, scientists estimate that the global temperature has now risen over 34 degrees since pre-industrial times. The report also warned of other wide-ranging impacts on climate change, including the acceleration of sea level rise, record glacier mass loss, and record-breaking heat waves. Formal negotiations will be held, as well as 2 weeks of exhibitions, workshops, and cultural performances on youth, business groups, indigenous societies, academia, artists, and fashion communities around the world.
Returning after an abrupt evacuation, survivors of a deadly tropical storm work to pick up the destroyed pieces of their beloved home. Reporting on Kalayan Winder has more.
Tropical storm Nalgae hit Southeast Asia, devastating the southern provinces of the Philippines. This tropical cyclone caused widespread damage across the country, along with Hong Kong and Macau. The storm has since killed at least 67 people since its appearance on October 26, according to the IDP Protection Assessment Report. The country has reported intense flooding and landslides that have destroyed infrastructures and roads and injured many as they were swept away by thick mud running the streets. Evacuees are said to be gradually returning to the affected islands, but clearing operations are still ongoing to salvage what was lost and or destroyed.
Kenya's longest drought having a fatal effect on its animals. Hundreds of zebra, wild beasts, and elephants have died due to this prolonged drought. The Horn of Africa has experienced below rainfall for 4 rainy seasons. Consecutively dry spells have destroyed grasslands and game reserves, as well as dried up waterbeds. The country's Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage, Pinia, Amazonia, says, quote, "The drought has caused mortality of wildlife, mostly herbivore species. The mortalities have arisen because of depletion of food resources as well as water shortages." The region's longest drought in 4 decades has resulted in the deaths of many of African unique species. A report by Amazonia said, quote, "The Kenya Wildlife Service Rangers, community scouts, and research teams counted the deaths of 205 elephants, 512 wild beasts, 381 common zebras, 51 buffaloes, 49 gravy zebras, and 12 giraffes in the past 9 months," end quote. Amazonia has stated that measures are being taken to save the lives of these animals. This includes transporting water to dried up water pans and dams and digging boreholes. When we get back from this break, we'll have all of your national news. Find out more about which animal is on the endangered species list for a very peculiar reason. Also hear about a mysterious and anonymous donation made in Detroit. We'll be right back.
Regular physical activity is one of the most important things you can do for your health. The benefits of physical activity include brain health, weight management, reducing disease, strengthening your bones and muscles, and improving your ability to do everyday activities. So, it's time to get up and be active.
Kissing frogs is typically something referred to in fairy tales. However, in the state of Arizona, the National Park Service is warning many to refrain from licking or kissing frogs inhabiting national parks. The Sonoran desert toad, also known as the Colorado River toad, is a potentially deadly amphibian, measuring up to 7 inches long, making it one of the largest toads in North America. It tends to be located near springs and streams in Mexico and also in America. The toad itself secretes a toxin that is harmful to humans and deadly to other animals such as dogs. It contains a chemical called bufotenin, which is illegal to possess in California, but not in other states. The liquid is often taken from the glands of the toad and then dried into a paste, which is then used to be smoked. It is said that this chemical has psychedelic effects when smoked, including hallucinations, but the toxins in this amphibian can also make one incredibly sick if handled for too long or by getting the poison in the mouth. The National Park Service advised strongly against licking the toads, stating, quote, "As we say with most things you come across in a national park, whether it be a banana slug, unfamiliar mushroom, or a large toad with glowing eyes in the dead of night, please refrain from licking," end quote. The toad is currently classified as an endangered species due to the abuse of its toxins for drug use. Therefore, any removal of the Sonoran desert toad from its natural habitat may be concluded in criminal charges.
College students across the country are struggling with math due to education loss during the pandemic. Students of all backgrounds are lacking study techniques and foundational learning skills in arithmetic. The average college freshman was a sophomore when COVID hit, causing lower test scores than their predecessors. Grade rates of D's and F's rose in math classes at Texas A&M University. As a result, many students are withdrawing. The university's Math Learning Center reports that some students lack even a basic understanding of the subject. Sophomore Nick Sullivan hoped his high school calculus course would have given him an edge in college. The hybrid environment, which was primarily videos, did not work for Sullivan. Community colleges are seeing drops in low-income Black and Hispanic students within the past 2 years. While colleges like Benedict College typically have an enrollment of 700 first-year students, only 378 students enrolled due to COVID. The college is having a hard time making sure its students graduate on time. Their 6-year graduation rate for last year is currently 25%, according to the U.S. Department of Education. Clutch Anderson attended the University of Oregon as a first-year student when COVID changed his college experience. Now 21 and an art and technology major, Anderson found it hard to establish a routine. Throughout his sophomore year, he barely left his apartment due to remote classes and fell into a depression. Anderson describes his experience as, quote, "I had no motivation and couldn't get anything done in my classes. I'm still trying to get out of that space," end quote. The pandemic caused a rise in anxiety, depression, and suicide in adolescents. Colleges are continuing to provide resources both mentally and academically for their students. The midterm election is still a hot topic on our radar, and President Biden has made a remark on the current results. Kalyan Winder has the details.
President Joe Biden has commented on the resounding number of Republicans in the House and Senate in the wake of the midterm elections. While we were waiting for results from a few states, the U.S. Senate is currently seating 48 Democrats and 49 Republicans, while the House of Representatives has seated 214 Democrats and 221 Republicans. On Wednesday, Joe Biden claims he is eager to work with congressional Republicans, yet will not compromise on main issues such as abortion rights and Social Security. He states, quote, "I'm open to any good ideas. I want to be very clear. I'm not going to support any Republican proposal that's going to make inflation worse. And I'm not going to walk away from the historic commitments we just made to take on the climate crisis. They're not compromisable issues to me, and I won't let that happen," end quote. He also reassures his party that there will be no red wave within the government, even if Republicans gain both control of the House and Senate, and that he is, quote, "prepared to work," end quote.
Is the Jewish community feeling threatened by recent anti-Semitic events? Over Halloween weekend this year, there has been a huge increase in anti-Semitic events. Some of the attributed to Kanye, now Ye West's remarks, quote, "Every celebrity has Jewish people in their contract," end quote, and calling the mainstream Jewish community fake Jews. During a college football game at Jacksonville, Florida, TIAA Bankfield Stadium showed the message, quote, "Kanye is right about the Jews," end quote, causing an uproar in the Jewish community. A statement of apology was issued by the college's football coaches, along with the president of the school. On Halloween this year, 2 people were photographed wearing Nazi costumes, including one man who was dressed as Adolf Hitler. On Friday the 4th, Nike released a statement saying, quote, "At Nike, we believe there is no place for hate speech and we condemn any form of anti-Semitism," end quote, in response to the suspension and the release of Kyrie 7. Nike will no longer have a relationship with Kyrie Irving because of his following of anti-Semitic movie, along with events over Halloween. Some are bringing light to the inclusion of market companies being insensitive regarding their content. Tasty has released multiple videos where they are making traditional Jewish foods and releasing them during the wrong holidays. Some of the items Tasty has made for videos cannot be eaten during the Passover due to inclusion of flour in the recipe. Tasty stated that challah is a traditional food for Passover. Challah is a type of bread most commonly eaten during the day of rest and is strictly forbidden during the week of Passover. The SATs are America's most well-known standardized tests. Some students wish that they couldn't have to take them, or maybe they'd hope that they would just disappear. However, for a group of students in El Paso, Texas, they weren't expecting their SATs to go missing. Erin Ute has the story.
Taking the SATs is a stressful, anxiety-inspiring rite of passage for many high school students. But over 50 students at an El Paso high school have to take their tests again after their results flew out of the UPS truck transporting them and were either lost or destroyed. The El Paso Independent School District told CNN that they are currently working with the College Board, the company that administers the SATs, to, quote, determine a remedy for those students whose tests were lost, end quote. The SAT is a standardized exam used as a metric for applying to colleges across the U.S. A total of 1.7 million high school students in the class of 2022 took the SAT at least once, according to the College Board. The El Paso Independent School District said that the loss of affected students who took the test on October 27th on campus. Staff were able to recover all but 55 of those tests. Students whose tests were lost will be able to take the ACT, another popularized standardized exam, on December 10th at no cost, according to the school district. The UPS stated that it had apologized to the school and its students.
Why is college so expensive? In the last 40 years, the cost of higher education has increased by over 170%. There are multiple factors that create the problem. Although being a cause for your high tuition, professors and administration have not seen an increase in salaries since the 1970s. In fact, the average salaries of higher education teachers in America are making less than they did in the 70s. Colleges and universities are accepting more students every year. Overall, higher education demand continues to grow. It is estimated that more than 60% of jobs will require higher education degrees for a career by 2020 instead of a high school degree. FAFSA provides students with financial aid based on family income to attend universities. Colleges will also offer financial support as well, based on what the school deems appropriate. This allows colleges to control the pricing of students' tuition. Even though the price for higher education continues to rise, federal governments and states have fallen short. With other public funding such as healthcare and other voting demographics, a hold has been put on universities. Funding differs across the country. According to the University of California in Berkeley, Wyoming covers 86% of the cost, while New Hampshire only covers 16%. Online degrees have become more accessible and cheaper. Caitlin is an online student at Huntington University, currently working on a social degree. She explains, quote, I chose to take an online degree program because I am my only financial supporter. I understand the value of a college education, but also understood I could not do it without working full time, end quote. How do we make college affordable? These problems are systematic, which means it is up to the applicant. Meteor showers are an exciting natural beauty to see. However, this show has a bit more than anticipated for this California man. Reporter Juliana Brock has more.
Northern California man Dustin Procita claims that the cause of his home being destroyed on Friday, November 4th is due to a meteorite. According to NASA, the southern Torrens meteor shower was peaking that week. Procita told his local news station, KCRA, quote, I heard a big bang, I started to smell smoke, and I went onto my porch and it was completely engulfed in flames, end quote. There was a video shown of a fireball coming out of the sky that looked like a flaming basketball. Procita said he feels lucky it was 30 feet from him rather than 5. Unfortunately, Procita only had time to rescue one of his dogs from the fire as his house was burning rapidly. Procita said, quote, I tried to go around to the windows, but fire and smoke was thumping through and I couldn't see inside, end quote. Firefighters battled the flames for hours as the ball of fire struck Procita's house around 7:30 p.m. that night. Procita told KCRA, quote, I always watched meteor showers as a kid, but I didn't want them landing in my roof or in my yard, end quote.
The city of Highland Park, Michigan is having $10 billion donated to it via an anonymous philanthropist, as claimed by Mana Development. The plan for the city, which is less than 3 square miles, was announced by President of Mana Development, Kenneth Hogan, at a press conference on October 28th. The donation would include plans to create a mixed-use development called Uptown Highland Park, which would include 90 apartments and 70,000 square feet of retail space, and paying off the city's $55 million debt to the state's water authority. The city has been in disrepair for multiple decades, having gone from being the center of companies like Ford and Chrysler to having no high school for the past 7 years, having no library for 20, to even having 1,400 light poles around the city removed after the city failed to pay the respective bills. Many people in the city are skeptical of the donation. City Council President Carlton Slyburn said that he knew nothing of the donation prior to the event, and the city's mayor, Hubert Yope, also knew zero details on the donation. After the announcement, he stated concerning the philanthropist, quote, "Is that it coming from Iran? Is it coming from Putin? Is it coming from my uncle around the corner? I don't know where it's coming from," end quote. He was sure to add, though, that when he sees the money, he is very for this investment. When asked for more details on the philanthropist, Hogan simply stated that they grew up walking the streets of the city, and more details would be released in the coming weeks. When we come back, we'll have all your local Pittsburgh news. Find out more about what festivities you can look forward to at this year's annual Light Up Night. Also hear about a cooking competition that took place right here at Point Park University. Stay tuned. 23-year-old Zaire Simmons of Pittsburgh is currently in custody and facing charges of criminal homicide and firearms violation after a fatal shooting in Scott Township. Simmons was a manager at the Taco Bell along Cotran Road, where he and 32-year-old Dorian Carver worked together. The two reportedly got into a dispute over corrective actions, which further led to Simmons following Carver into the Northwestern Mutual, where he shot and killed him in the lobby. Carver was pronounced dead, and a warrant went out for Simmons' arrest. However, he turned himself in to Allegheny County Police and is currently in jail. Not only was Simmons responsible for homicide, but he also had stolen the firearm used in early October. Because Simmons was a manager for Taco Bell, a company representative released a statement to Pittsburgh's Channel 11 News stating, quote, "We are shocked and saddened to hear that this happened. We understand the franchise owner and operator of this location is working with local authorities in their investigation. Our thoughts are with the affected family member of the team in this difficult time," end quote.
Pittsburgh Post-Gazette management met earlier this week with the newspaper's striking workers for the first round of contact negotiations in more than 2 years, according to WESA. Talks concluded early in the afternoon as the two parties review each side's proposals before meeting again on Thursday, November 17th. Zach Tanner, president of the News Guild of Pittsburgh, told WESA that the attorney representing the paper's management presented the same offer given to union members during negotiations in July of 2020. Management declared an impassment that time and pleaded, quote, "unliteral changes to working conditions," end quote. According to the union, the paper's proposed contract would not include any wage increases, one of the union's primary demands. The union's proposals included restoring the contract that was in effect from 2014 to 2017, which Tanner says includes protections the company discriminated after the agreement expired in 2017. Since a subsequent bargaining agreement was not reached afterward, the union members have operated without one until now. In a brief statement, Post-Gazette marketing director Allison Latcherin called the negotiations constructive, saying the company is encouraged and looks forward to meeting again on Thursday.
Pittsburgh officials said that they are hoping to move homeless people from encampments to a new shelter that is scheduled to open downtown, according to Trib Total Media. The 2nd Avenue Commons is a 45,000 square foot, 5-story facility that will have 43 single-room apartments and operate year-round. It will be open to adults and their pets and belongings. The $22 million project, which was spearheaded and overseen by PNC's Realty Services, took less than 3 years to complete. This comes as local leaders have said they are working to address homelessness in the city amid what they have called an affordable housing crisis. Break out the tissues, because Juliana Brock is here to give you a tear-jerking story of a little fighter kicking off a big event. Jules?
Pittsburgh's 61st annual Light Up Night festivities begin on Saturday, November 19th. There are plans to make this year's event bigger and better than ever, according to downtown Pittsburgh Partnership employee Jeremy Waldrop. Annual traditions and brand new events are coming for all to enjoy. The event will have a special beginning as 6-year-old Grayson Poling will be lighting the tree at the rink at PPG Place. Grayson is a leukemia survivor from Youngstown, Ohio. He was diagnosed at the age of 3 in 2019 and has undergone many surgeries and treatments since then. As of Monday, November 7th, Grayson is cancer-free. According to KDKA, the lighting ceremony will be taking place during the annual American Cancer Society Tribute of Celebration on Friday, November 18th. The tree lighting is scheduled to occur around 6 p.m., so do not miss this, as it is a bright way to begin your festivities.
Just around the corner. And at Point Park University, food insecurity is a major topic of discussion, especially within the Pioneer Pantry, the food pantry on campus. The Pioneer Pantry hosted a cooking competition called the Chopped Games in order to raise awareness and donations for the holiday season. Our reporter Alex Zarhane and Ashton Harder went to the event and provided a taste of the food fun. Here it is.
Nothing brings in Pioneer spirit like a little competition. Last Wednesday, the 9th, Pioneer Pantry hosted a school-wide competition based on the popular TV cooking show, Chopped.
Get started in 3, 2, 1, start cooking!
Each team of 4 participants represented a club or organization on campus. The teams included the School of Comm, Point Park's resident educators, women's sports, and our own team right here from UView.
Yes, great food so far. It's been awesome. Very good.
This Hunger Games themed event had 3 rounds. The winners of each decided by a panel of 4 judges. If the odds were in the team's favor, they would get the opportunity to face off in the final dessert round. The resident educators ended up winning the competition. Resident educators Cheyenne Squire, who is a junior theater arts major, and Deborah Flint, who is a sophomore SAEM major, had the following to say.
It was a lot of just trying to come up with fun, creative ideas. I know especially for our appetizer, trying to give the judges something to like interact with almost.
We had the nacho idea a week in advance.
Yeah.
They also had the nacho idea, so we had to change on the spot a little bit.
Our dessert was not as thought well in advance, and there were some little goof ups, but we just rolled with it, and here we are.
Watching our idea come together, especially in the appetizer round, because we had an idea and we executed it. We did well with that one.
Yeah, I think just like kind of working with all the other artists, because like we worked together a lot already, so we already kind of know each other's work style, and I think that really helped us, honestly, because we had good communications, and like we were able to figure out like what needed to be done, and very quickly just like, all right, I got it, and yeah.
Overall, the event was a success, and there will be more to come in the future. I'm Alex Zonizer. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Alex and Ashton. If you want to learn more about the Point Park Pioneer Pantry, you can visit their website at pioneerpantry.org. Though it was a record high of nearly 80 degrees on this early November day, it was beginning to feel a lot like Christmas in Springdale. A crew from the City of Pittsburgh 4C Division was on the campus of the former St. Alphonsus Church to cut down a 40-foot blue spruce tree. The tree is set to become the official Christmas tree of Pittsburgh and will be located at the City-County building, according to Trib Total Media. The church's business manager received a ceremonial deed of transfer from Pittsburgh City, forecaster Lisa Koffeke recognizing the selection of the tree as the official Christmas tree for the city of Pittsburgh. The parish donated the tree, and the city will plant a tree in the Spruce's place next spring. The Christmas tree will be lit during Pittsburgh's Light Up Night on November 19th. After the break, we will have your daily and weekly weather updates. Find out if you should bundle up or on Turkey Day, or if a light sweater will do. Also, hear about what classic game is getting a new Pittsburgh twist. We'll be right back. Hey.
Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. My name is Craig Ferkowski.
Tonight, we'll cover all your international, national, and local news.
Australia is one of the most biodiverse countries on the planet.
Over 8,000 items are to be auctioned off at Pittsburgh International Airport on October 22nd.
Last Thursday, the House committee investigating the January 6th attack chose to subpoena former President Donald Trump.
All this and more
coming up on NewsNight. There's a new Pittsburgh-themed Monopoly board on the store shelves, according to WTAE. In February, Pittsburghers were asked to submit their suggestions for all landmarks to include. The full game includes spaces like the Benningham Center, Carnegie Science Center, Duquesne Incline, Pittsburgh International Airport, Roberto Clemente Bridge, Point State Park, Eaton Park, and more. Acrisure Stadium, PPG Paints Arena, and PNC Park were not included on the game board. Anyone interested can purchase the game for $39.95 on Amazon, at CVS, and at various local retailers. Thanksgiving break is around the corner, and our weather reporter Addison Deal is here to give you the forecast for your Turkey Day festivities.
Thanks, Devin. Let's look at the forecast for tomorrow. It's going to be a cold one with the temperature reaching only the high 30s. Excited for snow? In the morning, you can expect to see flurries with a probability of 41%. As the day goes on, it will be breezy with wind gusts expected to reach up to 28 miles per hour with overcast cloud coverage throughout the day. After the sun goes down, the temperature is going to drop to the high 20s. So prepare for a very cold and very cloudy day. Now let's look at the rest of the week. This coming week is going to be mostly sunny with temperatures that range from the low 30s and the mid 40s. On Thanksgiving, the temperature will reach the highest of the week, reaching 50 degrees. Be prepared for a cloudy and possibly rainy day. The perfect day to stay indoors with your family and chow down on some delicious food. Also, before you do your early morning shopping on Black Friday, be sure to pack an umbrella because there's a 75% chance of showers throughout the day. That's all I have for you guys today. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of NewsNight. If you want to see more, check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television.
You can also check out more episodes on our YouTube channel or our website, uview.pointpark.edu. I'm Jillian Lesser.
And I'm Devin Amee. From everyone here at NewsNight, thank you for watching and have a great evening.